So there's been a lot of buzz going on online about the new Zelda movie that's supposed to be coming out in the future. And recently we just learned that it's supposed to be coming out in the spring of 2027, specifically in March. And I believe the targeted release date is March 26th. And that's something that has a lot of people talking because this is going to be the first major Zelda movie that we're ever going to get. And it's shocking because the Zelda series has been around for I'd say for over 3 decades, been around since the '80s, and we've never really gotten an actual movie, and that's actually baffling because I feel like Zelda is one of those franchises that that's like known to gamers worldwide, whether you're a casual gamer or a hardcore gamer or anyone that who barely knows what gaming is. I think Zelda has been around in pop culture long enough for people to know what it is and to know like who the main characters are and all that stuff. And as far as the actual film is concerned, we do know it's going to be directed by Wes Ball, and it's supposed to be distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, and and I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how like the film is going to how it's going to look or what to expect or anything like that. I know it's supposed to have three producers, West Ball being one of them. One of them is Shigeru Miyamoto, a guy who has worked on like numerous like high profile Nintendo games in the past. Um, two of them being like at least two of them being Zelda games. He worked on Majora's Mask and he worked on Ocarina of Time. And a lot of people go on record and say that Ocarina of Time is probably the best Zelda game that we've ever gotten, you know. And I feel like him being a part of production for this movie is something that's a huge deal because I do feel like he knows more about the Zelda series than just about anyone for the most part. And the thing is, I'm not exactly sure what to expect. Are we going to get a film adaptation of one of the older Zelda games? Because I would love to see a film adaptation of Ocarina of Time or something like that. But but I don't know. I mean, you look at how many games that we've gotten within the Zelda franchise. It seems like there are numerous directions they can go with in terms of storyline. I'm not exactly sure whether or not we're going to get like a standalone film or if we're going to get a particular adaptation. And if we do get an adaptation, where do you start? Because you look at the timeline for the Zelda series, and there's like multiple timelines. And then you look at the games that have been released. It's not like there's like a chronological order in which they were released, because you have Zelda games that it seemed like every Zelda game that has come out after like Zelda 2 has either been a prequel or it's been something that's been in a different timeline or what have you. Either way, I do feel that it's going to be very exciting. I'm not exactly sure like who the cast is going to be. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to handle Link as a character because for those who don't know, Link has been mainly a silent protagonist throughout the Zelda franchise. And I do feel like it's going to be a bit of a challenge in terms of trying to tell a story with a silent protagonist. And we all know what happened last time they tried to make Link speak, because I believe there was like a cartoon back in the '80s or something like that where Zelda spoke and he had that infamous catchphrase, "Excuse me, princess." And even though it was funny from time to time, it was also kind of cringy. And it basically convinced a lot of people that, Link shouldn't be a character that really talks or anything like that. And and yeah, I mean, I do feel that a Zelda movie is definitely going to do it's going to do big numbers in terms of box office revenue. Will it have as much success as a Super Mario Brothers movie from 2023? I have no idea. I don't know what it's going to look like. There hasn't been any like, trailers or anything like that. That I'm not even sure like how far in development the film is currently in right now. So it's way too soon to tell, and we have more than 2 years until this movie gets released. Hopefully, it doesn't get pushed back or anything like that. But I do have high hopes for this film, and I do feel like this film has to be a success because it sets the tone on how people are going to view Zelda in the next couple of years or so. even though the cartoon from back in the day wasn't really all that great, it didn't necessarily ruin the franchise or anything like that because the games were so damn good back in the day. And I feel like, no matter how well the film does or how well it doesn't do, it's not necessarily going to affect the video game franchise in a negative way at all. But but yeah, I do feel like, video game movies nowadays have actually been doing pretty good and they've been getting good receptions and all that stuff. And what I find interesting about the Zelda movies that's supposed to be coming out the same year that Sonic 4 is going to be coming out. And a lot of people's been talking about the Sonic 4 movie, myself included, and what to expect. And most likely it's going to be like a loose adaptation of Sonic CD. And and yeah, I mean, honestly, I think people are going to be looking at this movie and they're going to be looking at the Sonic 4 movie, and people are going to be comparing the two. So I feel like Nintendo and Sega are also going to be competing against like each other in the theaters and all that stuff in relation to box office revenue and overall success and stuff like that. And and honestly, it makes for a very exciting year. I mean, we do know that like 2027 is definitely going to be a big year for video games just because of those two film releases. Um, we have no idea about like new games in terms of 2027 because Sega nor Nintendo has said anything about any new video games in relation to that particular year. But we do know that this year is going to be a big year for Nintendo because of the Switch 2 and all that other stuff. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to get another big Zelda video game because we just got Tears of the Kingdom back in 2023, and you do know for a fact that we're going to get a brand new Zelda game for Switch 2 at some point. We have no idea what it's going to be about or whether or not it's going to be a direct sequel to what we got, or if it's going to be in a different timeline, or if it's going to be a prequel to something. Who knows? But either way, a lot of people, including myself, are excited about the Zelda movie. I'd love to learn more about the movie. Hopefully, we learn more about the film sometime within the next year or so.